I've seen something in Cardano's price action that is telling me when Cardano is going to peak in 2025. That is a bold claim, but with Bitcoin's 4-year cycle, sometimes crypto pumps and dips in a very predictable manner. And the reason we have a 4-year cycle is the Bitcoin halving. So you can see in 2024, it was a halving year and where the Bitcoin rewards were cut in half. And the Bitcoin halvings gives us predictability. This was 532 days from halving to peak, and the cycle before that, 525 days. And we see the similar patterns for the drawdowns to catch the exact bottoms and the run up until the next halving. And so this impact on supply and demand gives you something that you can navigate as a trader. And this predictability extends to top altcoins as well, especially ones with a couple cycles under their belt. Now, Ollie Charts pointed something out, one of my favorite people putting out charts here. After Cardano had a boring period, there's a nice pump with a drawdown, and the two drawdowns are quite similar, 56%. This drawdown was 65%. So we have a boring period, a nice little pump, a drawdown, and then alt season hits. And last cycle, Cardano pumped 4,000%. And then he kind of moved this chart pattern over. This would give us a 2,000% pump for Cardano. But I don't want to answer how high Cardano goes. I want to answer when Cardano is going to peak. And that's because I think that's going to be a lot easier to predict. I think there's way too many variables with Cardano to accurately determine where the price is going to end up. I think the Bitcoin OS bridge integration, that's going to be a huge variable. Charles's role in the Trump White House, that's going to be a huge variable. Also, you got how high can Bitcoin go? That's going to be a huge difference. If Bitcoin goes to 250,000 versus Bitcoin going to 150,000, that might be a difference of $3-4 in Cardano's price. Also, you have the XRP narrative. XRP has a stable coin that might be able to integrate with Cardano's Midnight. If that goes well, that might be another impact of $1 or $2 on Cardano's price. So because of these variables, Cardano's price is going to be hard to determine versus the date in which Cardano peaks. Now, there were a couple things on all these charts that I wanted to show. One was after this period, which I'm going to mention in a second, we got the two drawdowns. One was about 51%, one was about 65%. But this period is really what piqued my interest. And this is what gave me the determination we might be able to kind of predict about when Cardano is going to peak. And so in 2018, Cardano put in a nice high, and then a long period finally kind of broke out of, the doldrums of the bear market. And then we had a nice little local top followed by a pullback. Here you can see the same thing. We had the peak in 2021, we had the bearish period, then we kind of broke out of this bearish narrative, had a nice little local peak before we ended up breaking down to the downside. Well, one thing you'll notice here, this period from peak to peak, 924 days. This period from peak to peak, 924 days. And remember, after the peaks, we got very similar drawdowns. It's the next stage that has me excited though. This is another little something interesting I found in the charts. From Cardano's local bottom and to the next new high that we put in this bullish period, 359 days. From this bottom right before the run up until the next high, 398 days. So this was about 12 months. This was about 13 months. So we're seeing more similarities. Now let's go ahead and determine when is Cardano going to peak in 2025. And to determine that, we're going to measure from this peak into Cardano's all-time high, and then we're going to measure from this peak and count the same amount of days. So we're going to do from the candle as soon as we put in a new high for this bull run, that ended up being 284 days. Let's go ahead and measure the same thing. The first nice little run up after we put in a new high, it's going to be right here, 284 days is going to be September 1st. So September 1st, 2025 could easily be when Cardano is going to top out for this year, for this cycle. And if we look right here, Cardano peaked September 2nd. So we're talking about only 1 day difference. And when you have these 4-year cycles and you see all these candles start to line up, you see this chart pattern start to line up. And while I'm not saying history is definitely going to repeat, it definitely looks like history is rhyming. And so I want to put that on your radar. There is a chance Cardano peaks out September 2025. So make sure you have a profit taking strategy. And that's if the 4-year cycle still holds true. I think we still have 1 or 2 more cycles where it's still going to have a strong impact. I don't think this year is going to be any different. I don't think 2025 is going to be any different. So that's all I got.